All right, so this is coming from Gizmodo. This is actually from several days ago. This is really interesting. This was by Germain Lessier. Hope apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly. And again, this is from the 25th. But this is interesting. And I'd seen this kind of making the rounds, but this is the Last Starfighter's potential sequel now has a sizzle reel for Hollywood's consideration. So basically, this is a promotional piece that someone put together to kind of show the potential for a Last Starfighter sequel, which I thought sounded kind of interesting. Let's see. We'll get in here. It says, fans of The Last Starfighter have long dreamed what a sequel to that movie would be. Today, they find out. Gary Whitta, writer of the Book of Eli and Rogue One, has been working with The Last Starfighter writer Jonathan Batul, apologies again, I'm saying that incorrectly, on bringing the 1984 classic back to life for years now. Today, he hopped on his Twitch stream to say the film is closer than ever been to fruition. It's right on the 1 yard line, he said, and he believes it will happen. To help cross that line, though, Whitta also revealed the sizzle reel. He, Batul, concept artist Matt Alsop, and composer Chris Tilton collaborated on to give people an idea of the movie they want. Whitta explained, as he said before, this wouldn't be a straight remake of the original movie. It's a sequel that keeps the original film in canon, but passes the torch to a new generation, much like Star Wars The Force Awakens did. So this is interesting. So we're going to, I have to find a way to do this savvily so that we don't get the music. So let me click on this link here to go over to YouTube. And then where is the volume? All right. So this is pretty cool. So we'll just check this out. So yeah, so this is again a sizzle reel for a potential Last Starfighter sequel movie, obviously called The Last Starfighters. Now I have watched this before. This is mostly just kind of concept art kind of stuff, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
Now I haven't seen this at all, so this is the first time for me.
I love Last Starfighter, so I thought that'd be interesting to kind of show on the show and talk about. So
yeah, it's an absolute classic. Absolutely.
This is kind of cool. It's got the feel of the trailer park, you know?
Yeah, definitely has that feel of the original.
It's like one of the assassin-looking characters. It's kind of weird we can't play the music or anything, but we run the risk of getting a potential YouTube copyright thing.
Did they use the music from the theatrical release, or this is new music?
It's new music, but it evokes the original. Gotcha. But it is new music, so.
I always loved the design of the ship. I think the ship was a really interesting design and actually pretty unique.
Yeah, the gun stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was just kind of cool. Again, I don't know how close to fruition, this film actually getting made is. I know that they're putting this out there in the hopes that people will share it and talk it up and hopefully help create more interest. I feel like there's probably enough interest in Last Starfighter that it could potentially click with people. But yeah, I thought this is kind of fun to kind of show here on the show and talk about. So it's interesting.
It's also interesting that they pluralized it. So obviously, I guess the idea is to have more of like an ensemble cast instead of just like a primary character.
Right. Right.
Which I don't know if I agree with that concept 100%, but again, it's all, I guess, in how you execute it.
Right.
That's kind of neat. So the idea of having some like water scenes or a base that's like in the water, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I do notice it doesn't seem like they're trying to reinvent the wheel too much, which is good. It looks like the uniforms look very similar. The ships themselves, they look, the same, which I think
Right,
is really awesome. So it's like sometimes people just try a little too hard and they actually lose what was cool about the original.
right. Obviously, very high concept. You know what they're trying to pitch. It's just kind of I don't know. One of the things with this kind of stuff, though, is I always wonder. It's like, well, what's the actual story going to be? But they can't get too far into it.
Hmm. Interesting line. I like that. I'm not any of those
Yeah,
guys. I'm a kid from a trailer park. If that's what you think, then that's all you'll ever be.
yeah.
But I think it's interesting. This is a true reaction from me. I haven't seen this before. Dave told me he was going to show it, but I hadn't seen anything about that. Well, I shouldn't say I hadn't seen anything about the Last Starfighter sequel. I'd heard a rumor about it, and I wasn't sure how seriously to take it. But I didn't know this sizzle reel existed. And Matt Henshaw's in the house. He says, "Okay, I am here now. What did I miss?" Well,
I'll let me. What I'll do, Matt, is I'll share the link actually in the chat, so if people want to check it out, you guys can just check it out.
there you go. There you go. Um,
Um,
I do think it. I do think it would be really cool to do a sequel to the Last Starfighter. Um, the way that it was the way that you were you were quoting the article, and they were talking about what this is going to be. It does give me some concern about whether they have any intention of using any of the original cast members, any of the original surviving cast members, or not. If they don't, I would really kind of not like that. I'm always kind of old school about that. That I like to see the original actors come back, and of course, it doesn't always work. It's funny they mentioned the Force Awakens because I was like, wow. In a lot of ways, I wish they didn't bring back the old actors in that one because I didn't like the film. But I do think it's good. I do think it's very respectful when they actually bring back the original actors from something like this and actually acknowledge them and actually advance them. That would be kind of cool, where they actually advance. Like we're now, for instance, if the original character was now like the trainer, he's the master, so to speak. It has to kind of get these raw recruits, going. That would be kind of neat, kind of obvious, but also kind of neat, I think. So I just kind of hope that they do have some place for them.
I honestly do think that's what they intend to do, because I've heard a lot of talk about this sequel, to Last Starfighter. So I do think there is definitely. I mean, I haven't talked obviously the guy directly, you know what I mean, but based off a lot of what I've read and a lot of what I've heard about what they've discussed, I do think that they intend to bring back, who of the original cast members that are still around who might be interested, in being involved. When you think about it, there's not that many people I think left to even bring back, to be honest. I think a lot of because a lot of the main characters you think of are like, Centauri, right? You think of Greg, and I think the actor who played Greg has passed. I mean, I could be wrong. Because he was the old man who was running OCP and RoboCop. That was actually Greg. That's the same actor. But I think that he has actually probably passed, and the guy who played Centauri, I think he might have passed as well. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very possible because they were older even then.
yeah, yeah. So I think the main people we're looking at, would be Alex Rogan, right? Like he would be your main. I think I got that name right. I think he would be one of your main, your main characters you'd be looking at. So
Yeah. Well, he was the main character, right? So
yeah,
yes, that's the name of the actor. I'm kind of
okay.
looking on IMDb as you're talking. So
Right. Well, the character, not the actor. Um, I can't find. Well, anyhow, now I'm killing time trying to figure out. Anyhow, I think like for example, I think the actor who played Greg, I think he might have passed, and again, I think the actor who played Centauri might have already passed. So I don't think we have that many people to bring back. I mean, like I said, I think you're mostly looking at bringing the actor back who played Alex. Maybe the actor who played the love interest, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
Maggie.
Um, Maggie. There you go. So yeah,
Yeah, it looks like they're both still alive. So
yeah. And it would be appropriate if they'd been living off in the stars, you know what I mean? And he had been training, like the new group of Last Starfighters. It's interesting because it reminds me of a lot of the the general concept that Richard Hatch wanted to do with Battlestar Galactica: The Second Coming. That same kind of
yeah,
idea, right? And so if they do it right, that could be kind of cool. So
yeah, but unfortunately, that's not what they did. But I know there's lots of people that like the version they eventually did anyway. And of course, Richard Hatch did end up having a place at the table with the version that did come out. But I always personally just like when they do. I like sequels. I prefer sequels to remakes or reimaginings or reboots, which are mostly just market terms anyway that don't really mean anything. Um, I always prefer like an actual sort of straight sequel, some sort of acknowledgement of the original characters, using some of the original actors. I do understand, obviously, if someone's passed, that becomes an issue, obviously, but I just think it's respectful to the source material that you're basically mooching off of, because that's what they're doing, right? So
right, right.